Dealing with and being hospitalized for an illness can dramatically affect an individual's outlook on life.
My name is Abigail Hayes. I'm 17 years old and I go to Glen Burnie High School. I have Vater association, which is essentially an array of congenital abnormalities, the most prevalent of these being scoliosis. Because of this, I have had 16 surgeries throughout my lifetime in order to correct the curve of my spine. These surgeries were experimental at the time they were being done, and thankfully they turned out pretty well in school.
Sabrina Teasley, 15, Arundel High School.
She has Fragile X syndrome, which is a hereditary syndrome that causes intellectual disabilities.
My name is Jenna. I'm 18 and I go to Oma High School. It's called EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Finally, we found the experimental operations, which I did go through with, and those allowed for me to have surgeries about every 6 months where they had a rod in my back, and every 6 months they would expand that rod, so that would allow me to grow as much as I could given the situation. It resulted in my growth as I am today.
Are you more comfortable talking to the camera when you're with the dog?
Yes,
Why?
because I'm a dog lover.
You like dogs?
Yeah.
Do you like dogs more than people?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
I'm not able to fully complete things the way other people are. Like, I can't do it to the extent they can because my joints don't let me.
My brother had Ewing sarcoma, and from the chemo, he contracted leukemia, and that was dealt with a bone marrow transplant, in which I was lucky enough to be my brother's donor.
As a kid, I didn't fully understand what was really going on. I just always knew that there was a level of discord between my peers and I. There's not really a pleasant way to tell your friends that instead of being at school, you were in the hospital with a feeding tube down your nose. And unfortunately, a lot of my peers still don't understand the experiences I've been through because not many people have been through that.
Although Sabrina can't talk about it as much as she wants to, it has definitely impacted her social interactions, especially growing up, because like the elementary schools, there aren't really many like specifically for special needs students, and so she is integrated with normal students. I think people have definitely separated her from everyone else because they've always known something's been wrong with her, but there's no one there to like tell them or tell them how to treat people like that. Yeah.
Mainly because it makes me feel different than them, because I feel like I can't keep up with them, or I can't do everything they can, or I'm not able to be in certain things as often as other people can be.
Watching a child undergo the physical and emotional effects of an illness can be vastly detrimental to those close to the individual.
I think the lack of social interaction that she had growing up really did set her back, but she has overcome it tremendously, and she has really shown growth.
Went to school, came home, somehow figured out a ride to go to practice. My dad and I were on our own for a lot of the time because my mom would stay up at the hospital with him, and then every few months he'd come home for a few days, and then he'd go back up for another round of chemo or for radiation.
Definitely one main emotion that I've dealt with other students has been just not fitting in and not being a part of, a group of friends.
I don't know, people just purposely isolate her, in which she doesn't know what's going on, but she just accepts it because there's nothing that she can really do.
You see like commercials and they're like, please donate to a child or a child that is going through cancer or some illness. And you just think, what are the odds of that happening? And when it actually happens, it's kind of like, wow, this is something. It's just a lot of emotions at once, because you're kind of angry that like, what do we do to deserve this? But then it's like, hey, we're gonna get through this. It's gonna be all right.
Students that like to interact more with, you know, the general population at our school, and you kind of experience them being treated differently in just terms of, you know, they'll try to get along with a group of friends, and most of the time they're excluded, or they're, you know, just not interacting the same way as most general students will. And it is sad, and it is a thing that you don't want to see, but it is part of their daily lives, and, you know, things like that should change. And
Wanted to do all the normal things that everyone else did. Like, she wanted to have a birthday party, and one year we actually did throw her a birthday party, and I remember only one person came, and, you know, we had this huge party for her, and, you know, it really dawned on me on that she didn't really have very many friends at school.
Also at Chesapeake High School, most of the students that I help now, I was a student alongside with them as well, and I could see the, you know, the isolation there. And that's before we installed the Best Buddies program at our school. But now that we have the Best Buddies program, I notice a lot less isolation in terms of our students in the special ed program and students in just standard ed courses interacting more. And
when you go through something big, it affects you very deeply. It's like, hey, I went through this and I know I can get through everything else. Wow.
The videos show the prevalence of isolation, particularly in the hospital setting.
The effects of the illness and the accompanying isolation don't just harm the child, but family and friends as well. Thanks for watching.